Hey, good evening. Welcome to a foreigner in the Philippines. Actually, I keep forgetting that we don't need to do that welcome statement, do we? Because we have that jazzed up, newly edited intro that we had done by our friend Ronald. Well, anyway, I wanted to address some of the comments that we've had about the snake and snakes as a problem in the Philippines. Well, first of all, I don't believe that in this particular area we have the spitting cobra. The spitting cobra is quite deadly because they are very accurate and can spit very accurately for quite a few feet. So they can rear up, and then the next thing that you know, you've been hit in the face by that toxin, that venom, and it's blindness because it goes straight to the optic nerve, and I don't think that they can do anything about it, so you're done. And so the one comment that mentioned about the spitting cobra, yes, you're absolutely right, but I don't believe that we have it in this particular area. Now, I believe that the banacon is in this area, and that's a dangerous snake as well because it's aggressive, right? So that brings us to what my attitude is about killing a snake. I don't believe that we should be killing snakes. We shouldn't be killing wildlife, because when I think about it, I want to see the wildlife. I want that experience. I can remember that when we first arrived here, I went down to the well to bring up water, as was my turn, and we used to have to walk up that hill from the well, and it's a few hundred yards. Now, I remember that the path is quite well worn down, or was quite well worn down to the well, and a snake. I saw a snake cross just in front of me, and as far as I know, the cobras are yellow, in this area at least, are yellow and black, and it was indeed yellow and black. It never occurred to me to do anything aggressive to the snake, because it was quite away from the house. Now, that brings us to what the problem is if snakes are seen around the house. There are people walking around barefoot all the time. The kids run around barefoot. Beth is barefoot. Personally, I'm not, but I probably am the only one that doesn't walk around barefoot at any time at all. Now, when we first came out here, Beth and I came to live, and we stayed at Nana's house. I heard the call, scream, snake, snake, and I ran out, and what I did was, because of my feelings about killing nature, I didn't kill the snake. I let the snake go, but I made sure that it went away in the direction of the house. They all thought that I was crazy to do that, because if the snake is around the house, they don't live alone any more than we do, and they breed. And when they breed, they can breed huge numbers of babies. So that, and I don't think that I'm not sure about this, but I don't think that they're like caring parents. I think it's spit the thing out. I think their eggs have the birth and then move on, and the babies come out and take care of themselves. So we've actually killed some very small snakes, and we've killed some quite large snakes. Now the thing is, for me, we have a rake, and that's the method for us to stay away from the snake I'm not doing any of this catching snakes by the tail, which you see all the time on YouTube. No, that's not for me. And the safest way to do it for me is to throw something over the snake. And once it's underneath, it's not the same danger to you. So after my initial introduction to what should happen to snakes that are around the house and the reasons why, which I've just shared with you, I stopped allowing them to go. And one of the videos that you might see on killing a cobra was one that tried to get underneath the house. Now, our house started off on stilts. We've since built underneath and we put the blockwork all around, but there are doors so that we can get under there. It's a 2-foot gap underneath the house. But we need to be able to get under there for various reasons, so there are doors there. None of these things will stop the snake. They are amazing, amazing creatures. Can climb walls, can climb power lines. They are capable of doing incredible things, and they have to be treated very seriously. At the moment, I think the record for Jessica and James and the snakes that they have caught is up around 4 or 5. This is all in a very short space of time, so it's a serious problem down there, and they're having to address it. Believe me, they're not going to babysit or snake sit the babies or any other snake, no matter what size, big or small. They're going to kill them, because that's what happens when you have children and you have a choice. You have a choice. How conservation are you when it comes to protecting your child? When you saw the video, everybody loved the video that Beth had actually titled Taliklik Looking for Snakes. And Taliklik took a walk around the extended part of the property where you can walk through the grass. If you go down to Rado's house, you're walking by rice fields. It's wild out there, and it's not comfortable because it's sawgrass. So if you're walking, certainly walking barefoot, and I can tell you, I didn't see Talik when she did that video, but I know she would have been virtually barefoot. She would have just had what we call slippers, which they call thongs and flip-flops, depends where you live. She would have been virtually barefoot. So she's certainly not looking for snakes. But because it was a current thing, Beth chose that as her title. But she could have found a snake, and she could have found it in the worst possible way. That if she had been looking at the camera, she could have actually put her foot on one, and then the response from the snake would have been very fast, and she would have received a bite on the foot, or probably the lower part of her leg, certainly the knee down. And I remember the comment when we first talked about this, which was years ago, and one subscriber said, "Terence, if you get bitten by a cobra, you'll die. You're going to die." And that is probably the absolute truth. That's reality of the situation. So we treat the snake thing very carefully, and we live with some concern that there will be a place where they're breeding. Now, out of interest, and concern, I've watched some of the, usually in places like Malaysia, they are catching snakes, and they've got these young kids who are very used to all of this, and they'll create a hole in the ground which is actually a tube leading up into imprisonment in a can. But they disguise it with earth and everything. It just looks like a hole to the snake. And the snakes go into the hole, and then they can't turn around. It closes after them, and so they have only one way to go, and that is into the unknown, which puts them into a bucket which has been another bucket, a water carrier. We have these black, look like jerry cans made of plastic, and they'll just utilize one of those, and they catch the snakes. But of course they are extremely brave in my mind, because they catch the snake by the tail, and for some reason they don't get bitten, or maybe they do. But I've watched those things and how they can trap the snake by luring it into a hole, and thought that we should probably be doing something like that so that we can catch these snakes. Now maybe if we had caught 2 or 3 snakes and they'd all gone into a 5-gallon container, I might be more inclined to just put the top on it and carry it a mile or so away and get rid of it. Let it take the top off and let it go. Let them go, and hope that they're certainly not going to find their way back to our house. So now, let me touch on something else before I go. A subscriber of ours watched one of the retro videos that we released, taking a look at how it was when we first arrived here. When we first arrived here, there was no bridge. It went over a few rocks placed on the water at the creek. And there's a place there where we've, for years, 48 years apparently, Nanai and all of the family had crossed on foot. And then when we came, we managed to get a motorcycle. And we got a motorcycle, and then it became more of a reason to do something about the road, which we did. Now, it used to be, and is still, a very steep climb from the bridge up to the house. It's still a climb. Even with the Raptor in 4-wheel drive, sometimes it will stand still on that concreted area from the bridge up to the house. All of that is all concreted, and a little bit beyond, because it goes down to the bridge and then back up again as it passes Julio's house. So in that video, that retro video, someone had said, why don't you just spend a little at a time and do a little bit of work on the road? Well, of course, I think that they just didn't realise how old that video was, because that's exactly what we did. Several times now, we have paid out of our own money the cost of having a grader come in and redo that whole road. And we've even taken it up to Rado's house, and the other way up to our neighbour's house, Opie. We have a wonderful neighbour with a terrific relationship with him, and we could do it on the time that you book the grader by a number of hours. So the situation was quite easy to decide. We said, if there's time, we'll take it right up to Oping's house. Now, Oping and Rado split at the junction. We have a junction like this, a Y junction, we're going off here, they're going off there. So it was a matter of, once they got down and they'd finished at the bridge, for us, we instructed them to go down and do whatever they could on the time that was left. And that's what they did. So now, the latest update, which you will surely have seen if you were watching the videos of the last week or two, they've started doing dropping big loads of gravel in the road. Sometimes not very well thought out, because we've had to get a shovel and a rake before we could even get through. But we did all of that, and it's improving now. And they've dropped enough of this covering for the road, for the bad parts of the road, and when the grader comes along, the grader will take it and smooth it out. And the reason that I say that the grader is coming, that's my belief, is because normally they dump the gravel, but it's not enough to do the whole road. And this, they're dumping at various parts of the road. If they don't bring the grader in, then as time passes, we'll end up doing those repairs ourselves. But not so much the grader, because whatever the grader does can be done with a shovel and a rake. Hard work and lots of men, but it can be done. But the steamer, the roller is what packs it down, and if it's covered in a few inches of gravel, then it won't get washed away, or the likelihood of it being washed away is lessened a great deal. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that the grader is on its way. If the mayor's watching this, please send the grader. Bye for now.